today comes to us from Matthew, the 5th chapter. And just a quick word, because this is a continuation of the story that we've been hearing for the last 3 weeks. The story about what it means to be a disciple, to be a follower of Christ. He started out by saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst." Then last week, Jesus talked about being a light. Now, he's upping the ante a little bit. And if you read this and they're not just a little bit uncomfortable, you're not hearing the word. Holy Gospel, according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "You have heard that it was said in ancient times, 'You shall not murder,' and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that if you are angry with a brother or sister, you will be liable to judgment. And if you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council. And if you say, 'You fool,' you will be liable to the hell of fire." So when you're offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother and sister, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you're still on your way to court with them. Or your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly I tell you, you will never get out until you've paid that last penny. You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman or a man, let's be inclusive, with lust has already committed adultery with him or her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into Gehenna. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into Gehenna. It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce.' But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of chastity, causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again you have heard it said that of those ancient times, 'You shall not swear falsely, but carry out the vows that you have made to the Lord.' I say to you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything more than this comes from the tempter." The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Wow, we can see that now. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, amen. Let's see, I'm scanning the crowd. Usually, is Carmen here today, one of our cookies and milk folk? Okay, not here? Good, I can talk about it then. So, we had cookies and milk this last week, and it's such a wonderful thing. I mean, the kids love it, I love it. It's just a good time to be all together. Deb swings through, Linda swung through last week. But this last week, there was a very interesting dynamic that took place because somebody made snickerdoodles. Who was that? Was that you? Please stand. A crisis of faith was caused by the making of snickerdoodles. Because they're so good. And they're so chewy. Okay. And delicious. And Carmen, it was great because she saw the snickerdoodles and she saw it was a chocolate chip. I mean, such choices to have to make. And then there were also brownies that were made by Nancy. But Nancy made a brickload of brownies, so it did not cause a problem. The problem was that there are how many snickerdoodles?
One dozen.
1 dozen, there were 12. And in this game of life, some people had more than just one. And Carmen was sitting there, and all of a sudden she had this big smile on her face. And she said, I think I'll have a snickerdoodle now. Like she'd been waiting for it, putting it off, thinking it'd be the best for last. And we passed the bag over to her, and guess what? There were no snickerdoodles left. What a thing for us. As Americans. What a thing for us in this world that we live in to think that if we have a choice, that we may not be able to choose the thing that we want. That maybe, just maybe, I'll have to settle for chocolate chip or brownies, even when I had my heart set on a snickerdoodle. Now, of course, if Carmen were here, she'd be going, it wasn't, I'm building it up a little bit, but yet, at the same time, this whole thing of having choices. You see, a lot of times, and I've talked about this before, that we as Christians kind of tend to think, and we've been taught, okay, I will confess that the church often is guilty of kind of moving and shifting and changing people into directing them into ways that the church would like them to be thinking. There's been this understanding that in many ways we are just simply now digging our way out of. If anybody here has read Marcus Borg, wonderful, wonderful theologian in the church, and Marcus Borg talks about that when he was growing up in the Lutheran church, that his image of God was the pastor. Okay, well, I mean, it's kind of a natural sort of. I remember going to visit somebody in their home a little while back, and one of the 4-year-old boy answered the door and he yelled, "Mom, God's here!" Well, I mean, who wears a robe like this? And not that I was wearing that, but that Marcus Borg's image was of the pastor with a very stern face, standing up in the pulpit. So, there's a difference. Standing in the pulpit and continually going like this. And Marcus Borg said that his image of God and the image that was being put forward by the church was what he called the finger-shaking God. Shame on you. Do you really want to do, are you really going to do that? This constant pressure, this constant guilt. And he said it took him a long time to suddenly begin to realize that maybe that was not the predominant image of God. As he actually read the Bible, he was realizing that what God was doing more often than not. And you see, I think one of the things that we have is we have this feeling inside us that we're really not given much in the way of choice. That there are elements within our lives. In fact, when we do something really lousy, when we know that we've done something really kind of deliciously evil, what is it that we often will say? The devil made me do it. I've got news for you, folks. The devil didn't make you do anything. Read through the Old Testament, and it is this wonderful and delightful expose of humanity, where not only is God being shown for what God is, but we are being shown for who we are. And it is this constant story of people who are given choices. Sometimes we choose well. Sometimes we choose poorly. Sometimes we choose poorly when we think that we're choosing well, and sometimes we choose well. So life is a little bit messy that way, and God gives us this absolutely wonderful gift called confession and forgiveness and repentance, so that if we do make a poor choice, we're not stuck with it our whole lives, but that we can go, and turn around and head down the right path, which is what the word repentance simply means. It's not groveling and getting, I am such a worm, but instead, this recognition that you still have a choice. Even in the midst of the choices or the poor choices, you have a choice where you can say, I have really screwed up. and I'm going to change my path. That life is this constant back and forth. There's this wonderful, wonderful book. If you read no other book in the Old Testament, find the book of Ecclesiastes. Wonderful. Ecclesiastes, which in Hebrew is called Kohelot, which means the teacher, the wise sage. And Kohelot is kind of set up this way, that there's this man who's coming to the end of his life, and he has all of these young people around him that are kind of coming to him for wisdom. Well, tell us what life is like. And so Kohelot says, here, you young people will have so many choices in your lives. And he'll even do the Peter, Paul, and Mary, for everything, turn, turn, turn. Which, if you look down through it, is a litany of choices. But he also has this incredible wisdom, because he said that you can make big choices in your life too. He said, I was choosing to follow the wisdom of the world. And so the first thing I did was I decided that I was going to follow wealth. And that I was going to build up more, that my bank accounts would be bigger than anyone else's bank accounts, that I would have more gold, more cattle, more wives, more everything that anybody else could possibly build up. And then he said, I came to the end of that road, and I realized, and beautiful word in Hebrew, we translate it as vanity, which is kind of okay, but the word in Hebrew is heb, nothing, a breath. And he has this beautiful line where he said, I realized that a live dog is better than a dead lion. So then he said, I decided to follow the other path of wisdom, of really trying to build up degree upon degree and to learn more than anyone else so that I could impress all when I was playing Trivial Pursuit. I decided that I would build up wisdom, and I came to the end of wisdom, and I realized that it is also heb. Not just heb. Heb, hebolim. Nothing of nothingness. Whoa. He said, here's wisdom, guys. If you're going to sit down with a bunch of college kids or some high school kids and to impart wisdom upon them, now you have to be 21 in this state, but sit down with some friends, have a nice meal, and a bottle of wine. Preferably Mary Sellers, something local. And he said, there is true wisdom. It's not in the pursuing of that which is just more and more, but instead the building up of richness of life right now. The recognition of the beauty. So the next time, this next week, when you sit down with some friends, whether you're sitting down for breakfast down at Zoe's or wherever, when you're sitting down having a cup of coffee and some eggs, or if you're sitting down with some friends, even over lunch at the school or wherever, sit down and recognize that in the midst of that moment, you can choose to think that it's nothing. Or you can recognize that this, in many ways, is the beauty of the kingdom of God right there, in simplicity and in wonder, that we can just enjoy simply being together. That it's not in the pursuit of all of these things that we think that we don't have, that we think that we need to build up, and that we think that we need to gather so that we can build ourselves up and make ourselves seem more and more and more important, only to find out that in the end you end up in the same place that everybody else does, and you simply cannot take it with you. I was telling, I think it was Kevin, this last week, because we were talking about funerals, and I said, Kevin, there's this wonderful story about this Texan. Anybody from Texas here? Politically correct. Okay, he was from Texas. There's no other way to tell the story, because part of it fits in to the... But there was this man from Texas who all of his life had just dreamed of the biggest Cadillac that you could possibly buy. You know the kind in the 60s, those Cadillacs that could seat 30, that you could land a plane on the front, that had great big fins. This man would drive that Cadillac everywhere, and you could see him from miles coming in, and people would go, whoa, here comes Frank. Frank loved that car so much that when he died, he requested to be buried in it. Not one of the best images, but as they were lowering the Cadillac down into the ground, with Frank sitting behind the steering wheel, a person in the congregation was heard to exclaim, "Wow, now that's living." You see, sometimes we need to hear a word that sounds a little bit harsh, that comes in at us and makes us really realize that there are times in this big litany of life filled with choices that there are times when we really start heading down the wrong path. And that everything in our life, this constant choosing this or that in many ways, each one of those different choices will have its own consequence. God's put it right in front of you. The people are getting ready to go into the promised land. They've been wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, in some ways kind of God's big purge of trying to get them to shake off all of the garbage stuff that they had learned in Egypt, to say, now you can be a new people. You're going to be heading into the promised land, and you can leave all of your garbage back behind you in the desert. Now, as you get ready to cross the Jordan, you will have clean choices to make. You can choose death, or you can choose life. Choose life. Choose that dream of God that goes deeper than all of the rules. Choose the dream of God that is one that upbuilds, where you aren't just thinking about yourself, but that you are reaching out and celebrating the wonder of the people around you as gifts that have been given. That you can walk outside and feel the sun on your face and know that it's a gift. That you can walk outside, as we have for 102 days, and see the snowflakes drifting down and realizing, okay, enough with this gift, God, but still recognizing how wonderful and beautiful that it is. It's all about attitude, and it's all about the mindset that you are framing your life in. Today, I set before you life or death. Every moment of your life, God is setting before you life or death. That which builds up or that which tears down. That which is filled with love and care, or that which is filled with suspicion or hate. God is not impartial on this. Choose, please. Choose